All right, everybody, welcome to another edition of Think with a Drink. This is the weekly webinar series brought to you by the Aries Foundation for Financial Education. And we are continuing on our theme, which was going to go for next few weeks anyway, or a couple of weeks in terms of this, the Where in the World Should I Retire series. And now we pointed our focus towards the Southwestern USA. Last week we did Southeastern USA. Now we're doing the Southwest. Before we get started with this, though, a little quick housekeeping for everyone. Just know the event is being recorded. All the microphones are muted. Please have your cameras turned off because we've got it set up in such a way now that we are going to be doing it. We've tried to block everybody out, so hopefully that worked. Though I guess if somebody comes sneaking in late, I might have to go back in and try to figure that out. So, Craig, I think I gave you co-hosting ability, so you can block them out if they come in as well, but everybody else should be blocked out. But keep your mics muted, just where you should have been muted when you came in. There is a chat box, so if you do have questions, feel free to drop them into the chat box. And my co-pilot, who I'll introduce in a second, is here to keep me on pace. Speaking of your pilots for tonight's journey, my name is Tom Alessi. I am the president of the Aries Foundation. I have been in financial services now into my 24th year. I'm an investment advisor. That means I act as a fiduciary whenever I'm giving guidance or advice to any of my clients. I want to bring my vice president. Craig, why don't you introduce yourself?
Sure. So I'm Craig Richardson. I'm the vice president of the Aries Foundation. I've been doing this a little over 17 years now, and I specialize in working with families to help them meet their financial goals and have a better relationship with their money.
My slide says 18, just so you're clear, so we're clear. I've got you at 18.
Oh, okay. I'm so used to saying 17.
Well, yeah, you get older, things happen. You gotta progress with that. All right, so we told you that Think with a Drink is brought to you by the Aries Foundation for Financial Education. We are a recognized 501c3 nonprofit. You can visit our website. It's www.ariesfoundation.org. And the mission behind Aries is trying to help everyone have a better relationship with their money. Because whether you realize it or not, you are in a relationship with your money. And just like every other personal relationship that you have, there are emotional triggers and behaviors that occur that can act a little, let's say, irrationally sometimes, Craig, when it comes to dealing with our money and our finances. That's all Craig, myself, the rest of the Aries team, we try to do is try to help everybody get a little better handle on the not only the how, but the why that some of those behaviors and triggers happen when it comes to dealing with money. All right, disclosures. There's a lot of words on the screen. I am not going to read them all because Craig has asked me not to over time. But just know that we are a nonprofit. We do this for nothing more than educational and informational purposes. All we ask is that if you're ever going to share it, because we make it available on our website, we make it available on our YouTube channel, that you do that in an educational manner. However, myself, Craig, the rest of the Aries team always recommends that if you do have a question of a financial, legal, or tax area, that you seek out the help of a professional to have those answered. That was a lot. I got through all of that. Okay, so now we get to the fun part of the evening. We call this Think with a Drink because what we have found over time is that some of this stuff becomes, so Craig, a little bit daunting, a little bit, scary for folks.
Not my favorite subjects all the time.
Yeah, so that's what we get a lot. And so what we've tried to do is make it a little bit more relaxed, a little bit more casual. And we can't think of a better way to do that than if we have something cold to sip on as we're going through this. And this one for me tonight, I got to tell you, this is a huge leap of faith for me. This is called Mango Cart. This is a mango wheat beer. And as Craig and most of the people who know me, I am not somebody who's cool with the whole fruit infusion thing into my beer. But it's from Golden Road. They're out on the West Coast. This is the Southwest, mangoes. I don't know. I thought it sort of went with all of it. Craig's got his Hawaiian gear on. But it's supposed to be not too sweet, right? And it's a wheat. And low APV. So as I said, let's see how crushable this may be.
It must be out of options if you're going to mango.
Hey, they could be saying, I'm taking a leap of faith here. What are you drinking tonight?
Well, I'm staying a little more local. I've got a Treehouse Brew, and I'm drinking Dad Shoes, which I think that's actually made out of Dad Shoes. It says Dad Shoes is a milk stout brewed with chocolate, coffee, graham crackers, marshmallows, toasted coconut, and Dutch coconut powder.
That sounds like an awesome dessert beer, Craig.
It
Not
sounds like
something
we
you
have
want to have
everything
before.
in the kitchen sink.
All right, so I'm telling you, I'm getting powerful mango with this, which is scaring the bejesus out of me. But
Yeah,
here
just
we go. Skull.
go. Oh, that's definitely a dessert beer right there.
You know what? This isn't bad. I'm getting a little bit of the mango taste, but not like overwhelming, and it's not killing me. This is actually not bad. You'd love this.
Yeah, right.
No, no, no. I mean that. Not like, hey, actually, see, Craig gets set up by me all the time with this, and sometimes with these beers in terms of that. But that's actually very good. I'm quite surprised there. Hey, kudos to Golden Road. You did good with that because mango and me don't go together. But I could actually drink that. That actually isn't bad. I'm
Actually, I like
going,
the shoes. It's not too bad either.
huh?
I like this dad shoes from the treehouse.
Oh yeah, yeah. But that's the heavy. That's you got
Only
to.
8.2.
Yeah, yeah. See, this is only four. So there you go. All right, so moving on. Here we go. Here's our agenda for tonight, right? The criteria that we used for rating the regions when we're doing this, and the cities, there's not 10, so just so you know, because that gets a little crazy. We will explain that when we go through the criteria on this. And then at the end, we'll talk about, steps for doing a trial run, because we really think that's important, especially when we're talking about some of these areas that you might be looking at in terms of going through it. All right, so here's the thing with the Southwest was sort of similar, and Craig will chime in as we go along with some of these areas. But you type in or Google like happened with the Southwest, the top places to retire, and you get like half the list is either Arizona and Texas, right? Everywhere is concentrated there, like it was with Florida. Like half the list was in Florida. So what we did is we just said no, no, no. So like we're doing with the Southwest, and we'll do with every other region that we're doing. We're just going through each of the states, and we're having our own fun with what we're calling or defining in these certain areas. This isn't anybody's calculated, hey, this is truly the Southwest, but we sort of, trying to include some states here and picking a region based on the criteria that we used for it. So just know we've just sort of gone through, and this time we included Missouri. I don't know if that's truly Southwest, but I didn't know where else to put Missouri. It wasn't really the South, so I just sort of dropped it in there. So it's Missouri, Oklahoma, New Mexico, Texas, and Arizona. So we have 5 states here as far as the Southwest is concerned. Some places we're trying to include Nevada in that. And I'm like, Nevada's the West to me. I'm sorry, that's the West, right? Because as soon as
another episode, right?
Yeah, we're going to do that coming in a couple of weeks. And once California drops into the sea, I mean, Nevada will be the West. So I couldn't see that as the Southwest, but maybe who knows? But we'll get it eventually. All right. So what criteria did we use? So we look at cost of living. We look at the older 65 population of the area. Certainly in these cases, when we're talking about places in the South and the Southwest, outdoor activities, weather, that sort of all comes into play in some of this. But that's certainly something. Is there a lot to do? Is there arts and nightlife and other things like that you can do? What's the median home cost? Is there tax or estate tax that's involved? These were all criteria. And then one of the ones, I think not that it's the most important, but certainly something that should be in a consideration, because we talked about the bucket list thing, access to travel. Because it's one thing to be in a place that, hey, this is all great and everything, but like Mayberry RFD, like, am I just going to be there for the rest? I'm never going to go anywhere because it's going to take me 3 hours to get to an airport. So there is something to that. And if you're that type of person and you just want to be, I'm going someplace and that's it, I'm, rural and remote and I'm fine, that's a whole different episode. That's not for us here in terms of this.
Well, I think the other thing too, when you choose to retire in a different location, sometimes you don't hesitant because you may leave family behind. So having access to transportation where you can quickly get back to your family or they can come visit you is also a nice feature.
Yes, and the flip side is true. Being remote and away means the family can't come. They can't get near me. I can't talk to them. Right? Yes.
Candidate, right.
All right, so let's get into this. So we're starting with Missouri, right? So again, definitions, we don't, we're using our own lines here in terms of what do they call that in politics? Gerrymandering, right? So we gerrymandered our own map of the United States, basically. And so this is to us the Southwest. Yeah, we'd make great politicians because that's what they do. Like, you look at some
Yes.
of the maps, in terms of
Carve out the region
politics.
the way you want it, right?
Yes, exactly. So in Missouri, we are choosing, it is called Ferguson, Missouri, right? And so Ferguson, Missouri is a suburb of St. Louis. So you have access, and it was funny because I was going to do Missouri as like two parts
Mhm,
because you could have the suburb of St. Louis or the suburb of Kansas City,
mhm.
depending on what you were looking for from, because they're not really opposites of each other, but they're sort of, they're opposite ends of the state, obviously. And they are different, not that dramatic different lifestyles, but they can be a little bit different lifestyles between St. Louis and Kansas City. So picking a suburb of one of the two, we chose St. Louis. So you have access to everything that is in St. Louis, so that means you've got access to the city, the nightlife, the airport, everything that goes along with being near the big city.
Mhm.
But Ferguson doesn't have a high cost of living as a suburb of St. Louis. But all of Missouri is fairly low. I don't know what you found in that.
Well, I'm getting the same things you do. I know you have an average home price around 78,000. Some of the research I did the same in that same neighborhood around the 80,000 mark.
Yep.
So yeah, so you also remember it's a southern community, right? So you want the ethnic makeup is definitely more southern. So something to keep in mind when you're moving there.
Oh, and
Um,
I screwed up with the medical center. That just so everybody weird. That's a typo. That's not supposed to be. You have access to all the hospitals in St. Louis, is what that's supposed to be. Just so we're clear
Yeah, I
with
was going to
that.
say one big thing that came up there is, the population is, only about like you have it there, 13% over 65 years old. So I think this, if it's becoming a retirement community, it's an up and comer. And it may be
Well,
because,
yeah, so just to stop you on that, just the criteria, and again, thank you, because that was one of the criteria that it has at least over 10% of the population is over 65. So
Mhm.
any place that doesn't have a population that's at least more than 10% of the population age 65, they don't meet the criteria.
Right, which is getting hard to be anywhere because of the baby boomer population coming through.
Yeah,
But
so it's true, right? It's like everywhere is now.
but I'm saying specifically for this one, you may see higher numbers in some of the other areas you chose. So as
Right.
far as, 30% plus.
Yeah.
Like I said, I think there's maybe an up and comer. A lot I saw with, a lot of, assisted living places there, which makes it desirable for that aspect. And I think, like I said, the weather is decent and the cost of living is low. And there's a lot of nice outdoor activities. I think you have over 110 acres of parks just in
Right.
Medford.
Yeah, there's a lot of outdoor and available and go through it. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
But let's talk about the flip side of that because every location we do want to bring up the cons, right? So, the first thing is Missouri, there's no beach.
Well,
So
I
that
guess
would
the Missouri River you can go,
Oh,
but
God, that's a river,
yeah.
but that's the thing. I mean, so some of this you will get that there's no beach, right? Because where we are in the country and part of that. So, that's just it's a lifestyle choice. But if you're somebody who has to have the beach close or somewhere nearby, clearly that's not going to work. You do get the high humidity in the summer, and it does get chilly in the winter, right? So it can
Yeah,
get down, not
20, 30 degrees from what I
right,
understand.
exactly. So it can get to freezing in the winter. So if you're somebody who's trying to escape that chill in the bones type of thing, this may not be the place for you.
Still need all season tires down there, right?
Yes, yeah. And my understanding is it's fairly close to the airport, so much so that the St. Louis airport might be too close. That so if you're somebody who's bothered by the jets and the runway and the takeoff thing, it might be a factor for you.
Someone might land in your yard. Is that what you're saying?
No, the noise.
Oh, the noise.
The yeah, the noise of that. You do get severe weather. The Hurricane Alley and the tornadoes and all of that stuff. You do get a lot of that there, and
Just
they
like
do.
Florida.
Yes, yes. But they do have. There are high state and local taxes in Missouri, and there's a high crime rate, really, no matter where you look in the state. It's the nature of how Missouri's makeup is right now. You got any of those you want to add to that? Any negatives that you got?
No, I think you cover the negatives pretty well. I'm trying to remember what the positives were again.
Hey now. All right, moving on. Let's go to Oklahoma.
Oh
Okay.
yeah.
So
Oklahoma.
this is Bartlesville, Oklahoma.
Hmm.
Again, we threw Oklahoma in there because we gerrymandered the map. So, but the whole idea here with Oklahoma is it's a extremely low cost of living. It's very, very tax friendly. Um, this place has almost a 20% of the population is over age 65.
Hmm.
You have access to Tulsa. I don't know anything about Tulsa, Oklahoma, but you have access to it. I guess it's an international airport, but have you ever flown to Tulsa? I don't think I've ever been to Oklahoma.
I've never been to Tulsa. No, no.
So,
I don't know if it's on my bucket list or not.
but otherwise, the same sort of thing as Missouri. You got access to a lot of, there's arts and museums and other lifestyle that's there. There's plenty of outdoor activities. If that's your gig and the thing you want to do, I think Craig, you'd find the same thing, right, in terms of that.
In terms of activities, yeah, absolutely. The other thing too, it does still have, from a weather perspective, different weather. It's 80, 90s in the summer. It's down to the 20s and 30s in the winter.
Yeah, it's
So
not
coming
right.
out from New England, you're still getting some of that, seasonal effect. Some people say I miss the New England weather. I don't know who, but
Yeah.
but if you
Yes,
do,
right. But that is one of those things. You can get the cold, right? The
yep,
cold can come. So just again, any of these areas in that, so I don't know what that is, Texarkana belt there or whatever,
yep.
that you can get those, as Craig said, those more chillier than anticipated or than expected winters. If you're really trying to, get away from it, which is why Texas and Arizona usually end up on the list with most of the names.
Yep, and I mean, the other thing too is that what was I going to say? The national crime average is below
Right.
the national average, so it's very low crime.
Yeah. Yeah, no. That's why it made the list. Like I said, it's very from a standard of living standpoint,
Hmm.
like this is a place like again, if you're okay with no beach, right, then you're all right because you're completely landlocked here.
I don't know what your cons are. I'm waiting on those. No beach. Every one of yours, no beach. Is the first con. You like being at the beach, Tom? Yes. Well, I got the beach behind me there. Or am I?
Yes, the beach is in my thing, and I am a beach. I grew up here on the East Coast. Come on, I'm a beach guy. All right. It's kind of remote though, this place, right? So we said, Tulsa, but Tulsa is like it's 40 miles away. And so is in the interstate. It's you are this is if you're one of those people who wants to, I'm gonna retire, I want to go someplace small, what do they call small town living,
Yep.
relaxed, casual lifestyle. I don't care about all the other stuff that goes on in the city or the nightlife and all that stuff. A homebody, go outdoors, do my thing, have fun, do activities outside. This is probably, right, like perfect, right, as far as that's concerned. So there
Yeah.
is there is high property crime. Not necessarily the average crime rate is down, but there is high property crime in this area. But
Somebody
that's
might still do a golf cart.
somebody could or could scratch your car or do something like that. And as Craig had mentioned, the winters do get cold, right? So that's another one of those factors you just got to be aware of. That if you were really trying to say I'm trying to get, I want that chill out of my bones, that's not going to be the place.
Yeah, but all those cons are muted by the fact that it's near the Ozark Mountains. So.
Yes, yes. No, and that's another factor to it. That does bring that up.
Yep.
That there is so much outdoor activity that is available there. That's what I'm saying is for that, if you're somebody who that's their thing and you don't care about all that other stuff, it could be a perfect place.
Yeah, I almost feel like we should include a picture slideshow of
Oh, now you're getting cute with me. It's okay. We can figure that out. Like
Okay,
this is what it looked like in 1940. No.
not and then today.
Yeah. All right. So now we go to New Mexico. And I got to tell you, I struggled with New Mexico because it's much like Arizona. There's plenty of places, but some of them are so remote, it gets kind of crazy to deal with. But I chose Santa Fe, right? So Santa Fe is I believe it's the capital, right? It's the capital of New Mexico.
Santa Fe, New
Yeah,
Mexico.
yes,
Yes, it
yes.
is.
It's the capital of
My
New
daughter did a whole
Mexico.
report on New Mexico, so I had to know that. The
There you
flag,
go. See?
everything. Yes.
Right, right. It is and has continued to be rated as one of the top places to retire in the country. If you look at, all the lists that go on there. However, the median home cost is fairly expensive in Santa Fe, right?
Well, I think that's because it's a desirable location. So,
Absolutely desirable location, as there's plenty of access to high quality healthcare, especially for seniors.
mhm.
The Albuquerque International is about an hour away. So that's not that big deal because it's not like an hour away, like in the city hour away, where it's really only like 20 miles, but it's going to take me an hour to get there. And they have beyond like the museums and places and things of that nature. The whole cultural thing is like bred into the whole community. Like
Yeah.
that's part of the draw, that whole cultural part to it. And lots and lots of sunshine. I think there's some crazy numbers, like 300 days a year or something. It's
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, that
So
makes there's 1.5 million acres of national forests and 170 miles of hiking trails.
yes, well, that would be why. Yeah, it is a place to go. And like I said, over 20% of the population is 65 plus. So it is more and more of a destination spot for retirees.
Mhm.
And I think that trend is only going to continue because there is so much of diversities. There's so much there between the arts and the rest of the culture and everything else. Like everything you read about Santa Fe just screams like this is a place to go and one to visit and then stay basically.
Well, the other thing that's kind of weird about the fact is in New Mexico, you think it would be hot there all the time, but it's 7,000 feet above sea level. That's higher
Yes,
than Mile High Stadium, right?
right.
So while it gets to be 90s in the summertime, it still can get cool in the winter,
Yeah,
right? But at least you won't have to worry about flooding.
right. That's not on the list,
No.
right? But it is a desert after all. So you do have constant sunshine.
Mhm.
And for those who might, as Craig mentioned, like either the changing of the scenery or the changing of occasionally having something other than a big bright golden orb, broiling down on you every day, that might be too much to take. New Mexico has terrible roadways. I don't know why that is. It's just one of the things that it's just not. Their upkeep on the federal highways and roads is not consistent. You do have a high cost of living and taxes. They've got high state taxes and local taxes.
Hmm.
Um, and Santa Fe is a tourist destination. So you understand that there's going to be flocks and flocks of people coming to Santa Fe all the time, and it doesn't really let up.
Wow.
And so if that's something that you're okay with, that you're going to have this constant flow of people coming in all the time, then that's fine. But
Mhm.
for a lot of people, they don't want to have to deal with that.
Well, this surprised me too. Did you realize, even though it is in the middle of the desert, that they get 26 inches of snow a year, and that they're actually a popular ski destination?
Right. That's the whole thing. You can ski there.
That's
Yes.
crazy.
Well, it's because they're so high up.
Well, I'm saying, but you're in a desert, and then you're skiing in the desert. I mean,
Yeah. Hey,
that's some crazy
man,
stuff.
you know what it's like once you get up into those high elevations, that can happen.
Yeah, well, I realized that.
You
Yes.
know, and then you got bugs. There's lots of bugs. That is one of the downturns. There are bugs and there are other critters, right? So you got critters out there because you're in the desert.
Do you not like bugs? You put that on everything as a con. If they have bugs, you don't like bugs.
Bugs. Well, we have bugs here. I don't like the bugs here either.
I don't either, but there's no alligators though, at least.
Yes, no gators. You don't have those. Not gators. You got other critters. You got little ones that can sting you and cause poisonous reaction and stuff. So
Scorpion, stuff like that. Yeah.
yes, so you got to be careful on that. What's next? Texas, right? So Texas. So
Ah,
so Texas, another one of these, like it's a huge state, and they throw all sorts of things at you in terms of places and everything else. But as Craig said, part of this was everything didn't have a beach, so I wanted to pick someplace with a beach, right? So we wanted to get to the water at least in one of these. So we chose Port Arthur, which is just a little bit north of Corpus Christi, down on the lower end. You're probably about 90 miles to Houston
okay.
from Port Arthur. So you do have access to Houston International, which is a hub for just about everybody. So, the travel thing, you got to travel to get there. But, once you spend time in Texas, you realize everything is like an hour and a half away. It doesn't matter where you are.
It's so big. Right.
Yes.
Just a
There,
CVS is an hour and a half away. Right.
yeah, just to go pick up a prescription.
Get a
It's
pack
a
of-
very, 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 I mean, of all the places on the list, this is probably the lowest besides Missouri in terms of cost of living. Like, this is someplace that if you just wanted to go and just be able to do your thing and hang out, uh, this is probably it, right? Because there's very little crime. You do have access to hospitals, and Beaumont is not too far away, the major medical center there. Like I said, Houston's 90 minutes away, so not that far to get to. But you've got the beach, you've got outdoor activities. And again, like Craig said, this is probably one of those more up and coming for the age 65 because there's only about 12% of the population right now. But
Mhm.
I think that you'll see that as more of a growing, especially as like Corpus Christi gets a little bit fuller, and more so. But we didn't go inland like Austin, or I wasn't going to do any of the big cities like Dallas or Houston because the crime rates there are just over the top in terms of trying to deal with. So we chose Port Arthur. What did you got? What you got?
In my research, it basically was saying that, it's kind of nice. It's kind of like having the benefits of being in Florida without the big Florida price tag. A little
Or
more
the
affordable.
Gators?
Or the Gators.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So yeah, so if you want to be by the water and you want to do it, and you want to do it on a fixed income, it might be something to take a look at.
Right. Yeah. That's what I was getting as well. That was sort of the vibe I was getting from it. That's why I like I said, that was one of the reasons for looking at it.
Mm-hmm.
The cons are it's Texas. So you're Texas on the coast. That means hurricanes. That means tornadoes. So there's exposure to all of that stuff. Um, Property taxes are high, right? So I think that's just Texas. I don't know that that's just here, but it is.
So does that affect rent prices as well? I'm sure it must push them up a little bit.
Push them a little bit, right? Because there's low home ownership. Right, the
Oh,
ratio is normally when you see ratio, like when it's in a place that's a challenge, it's usually in almost like a 50-50 split, homeowners to renters.
right.
This one I think dips up to almost be like 60-40 renters to
Wow.
homeowners. Right. Yeah. So it's definitely, and that lends to some of the stuff that the activity that's not the greatest that goes on there. You got high rainfall because you're on the coast, right? That's going to happen when you're on the coast.
Mm-hmm.
You're nowhere near a big city. You got to go to Houston. So if you want the quiet, like Craig said, that quiet nightlife, I'm grooving on the coast and I'm doing my thing and I'm not worried about what's going on in the big city or the nightlife or any of that stuff, then this might be the place for you.
Quiet place to retire type deal.
Yeah, with, like you said, access to a beach and outdoor activities and all the other stuff that goes along with it.
Yep.
All right, and that brings us to the last one, which is Arizona, which of course always ranks high in terms of it, and everybody goes to Arizona. We picked Tucson, right? Tucson, while it comes in under the national average as far as cost of living is concerned, right, it's right, it's almost on it, especially when you start looking at some of the other things like goods and services and other costs that go along with it. The meat, I don't know if you got the same number for the median home cost, but that's
Pretty
what I get.
close, yeah, pretty
Yeah,
close.
so as far as the other locations that we looked at here, that much higher in terms of the cost there. It's very, very tax friendly though. I mean,
Oh,
that's it. Yeah, it's very, very tax friendly. And because there is, just like Florida, a huge population of over 65 in the state itself, the access to medical care across the state happens to be highly ranked, especially for seniors.
well, that's great.
The international airport, though, there is one that's closer. Like I think Tucson has one, but I have no idea where it flies to. Like I don't think I've ever seen a flight that says, "Hey, take me to Tucson." It's Phoenix. What was that? Wasn't that the joke with the guy? What's his name there? You call me tater salad. There. What's his? Ron White.
Oh,
Right.
yeah,
Right.
your
Right.
favorite guy,
Did
right? You might
right.
forget his name. He's your favorite comedian for that.
Yeah, no. But Ron White, where he said, because my travel person didn't have access to a globe to understand that there was no reason to take a flight going from Tucson to Phoenix,
Right.
and we were going to crash. Yeah, so I mean, it is a little bit of a haul if you're going to use Phoenix as the flight to get out. I mean, but other than that, I mean, access to plenty of arts and museums and nightlights and outdoor activities. And God bless if you golf, this is the place to go because just like New Mexico, you can golf just about every single day of the year. And Tucson has about a 15% population over age 65.
Yeah, I mean, it looks, I mean, it's also like, a small big city. I mean, there's over 1 million people in the metro area. So it's not this tiny little thing. I think you're absolutely right about the fact that as far as arts and culture and all that, it's over 200 different art groups. They have their own, Tucson Symphony Orchestra, and they have their own theater company. So there's a lot as far as activity to go do. Like unlike the last location we were talking about, where there's not a lot to do,
Right.
you can stay pretty busy in Tucson, which is kind of nice.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I mean, once again, the weather though, because it's Arizona, in the summer times it can be up to 100 degrees, right? So,
It's dry heat,
yes.
but it still gets hot, right? And there's the whole thing, and that's sort of the take on this, especially for those who like to get out and do activities. That heat gets up, that heat gets up into the 110s, 120s, and I don't care how dry it is, it's still hot, and it's really difficult, especially as you get older, to continue to do things outside in that heat.
Hmm.
It also drives up the cost of utilities. That's why I was saying, while, okay, the cost of living from the national average is lower, the cost of utilities is like just about right on par with the national average. And the same thing with goods, right? The cost of some items and goods is right about on the national average. So, okay, your cost of living might be a little bit lower, but you know what? You're paying for it in some other places.
Right, but the same thing with Arizona, which I find a fascinating state, is it's a short drive out to what the Arizona Sky Islands. And actually in the wintertime, that you can ski there.
Yeah, yeah, there's
Right.
places to escape.
So you get this 100-degree summers and then you're skiing in the winter. It's crazy. So you still get all the, you know, seasonal effects that you may have missed in the
You know,
winter.
you can do that in New Hampshire too.
Ski?
You can get a 100-degree summer and then ski in the winter.
Oh, right, but it may be one day. It's not going
Well,
to be 3 months.
okay, well, I'm just saying.
A little different.
There's
I don't see a lot
uh,
of locals in New Hampshire.
yeah, when rains come, the rains can be deadly. The rains can be, you can get monsoons, you get flash flooding, you can get a lot of problems with the rain, right?
Right.
So that is one of the drawbacks there. And I didn't put bugs because there are no bugs. See, that's the whole thing with Arizona. If you hate bugs, then Arizona is the place for you because there ain't no bugs, but there are scary, scary reptiles. Maybe not alligators, but you got, scary critters roaming around.
What are you going to do?
Don't step on them. All right. So one of the things we recommend for everybody who's thinking or getting close or looking at this is to do what we call a trial run, right? So the idea here is as you're getting maybe within that 7, 8, maybe 5 year window to I'm going to retire. This is where I want to retire, or this is what I foresee. Some of the locations, like Craig said, maybe, hey, I want to go check out what it would be like to retire in Missouri. So maybe I should go. So the idea is to go and spend a week there. And when we say go spend a week, we mean you go in there to spend a week like you're going to live there. You're not going to be traveling around. You're going to be doing the things like you would do in a normal day to day if you were no longer working, which means you really can't bring the work with you. Now, some of us, we don't have the ability to do that. We have to have at least some access or work thing we're doing. So maybe it's taken one day and dedicated that to returning the emails and calls and all that stuff. The rest of the time, though, you're just acting like you're retired. Maybe you're going down to the golf course. Maybe you're going to the beach. Maybe you're doing whatever you do. But you've got to do sort of that trial of what it's going to be like. Because, go ahead.
So it's a lot easier and less cost and more cost effective than just moving there and finding out it isn't for you. And now all of a sudden you've got to oh crap, now I got to get out of my rental agreement or my house I bought, or right. Give it a test try when you got the time, if you have the opportunity.
Right, because here's what happens for a lot of us is we think about it and say, well, where I'm going to go, but I'm going to go travel around while I'm there. I'm going to go see sites and do things and do all this stuff. And that's not the same thing as being retired. Because when you'll travel, we understand there's bucket lists and we're doing all this stuff, but what are you going to do with the rest of the other 48 weeks of the year? Right? You're just going to hang out at home and do the stuff you do on a daily basis, whatever that is. Go for a hike, go play golf, read a book, watch TV, whatever you're doing. And that's what you want to see if you're comfortable doing it there. If there are things that you can do to keep you active and engaged so that you can live how you want to live.
Yeah, get a feeling for the local culture, get a feeling for the local community, and see, is this a place I see myself fitting in?
Yeah.
Because sometimes you get there and the atmosphere may be beautiful, but you don't like the people.
What was that? One of those states, they were miserable human beings, right? That was what came out of that. One of the negatives was everybody's miserable.
Or they may be too friendly. We're from New England. Not everybody's so friendly up here, right?
Oh, yeah.
Maybe the other way. God, these people, they're always smiling at me. What's their problem?
What's wrong with them?
So, but I mean, everybody fits in differently, and you just want to make sure, is this a place I could fit in and feel comfortable?
Yeah, absolutely. Right. That's the whole idea. It's just, is there a comfort to it? And is this what you want? Because that's the whole idea with this. Craig, we always talk about it being the longest vacation of your life, retirement. The problem is it's not really a vacation. It's a lifestyle. This is what you're going to be living and how you're going to be living. And so that's what you need to be thinking about. You're not going to be traveling every single day or going to visit things every single day when you're in your retirement. That's just not going to happen. And you want to find a place that you're comfortable and relaxed and able to do whatever it is you want to do to live the best life you can.
Yeah. The other thing you keep leaving out, though, is the local brewery scale.
Yes. So, I might have to start doing that. I might have to start putting in a local brewery tab right to that. Just,
They have 10, they have 20.
Yeah. Here's if we have to create a scale, right? What is that like they do with the Fahrenheit scale and everything else, like some sort of brewery digit number.
The brewery meter.
Right? Yeah. They come out as a 7.8 on the brewery scale.
There you go.
All right, so this is what we do for everybody. We understand you're trying to get someplace, like we said. You're trying to figure out what that retirement is going to look like, how it's going to be, or what it's going to be, and that's what we do at Aries. We try to help everyone have that clear vision of the road ahead, and the way we do that is through what we call this roadmap to financial awesomeness. It's a visual tool that helps you sort of get a clear understanding of where your stuff is. And then we try to help you figure out where you want to get to and how you're going to fill that in and make that happen. If you want to, you can just drop yes into the chat box. Craig, you drop our thing in the.
Stop talking. You're drinking 4% beer tonight.
Yeah, what happened there? The mango card, it's getting to me. So he dropped our link into the chat box. So if you just want to just either copy and paste that or click on it, it'll open up our calendar and you can just schedule a time. We're happy to have a conversation, see how we might help you out. What's on tap? What do we have coming up? We keep the Think with a Drink theme going. Next week, it's going to be the Mid-Atlantic. And again, we're sort of gerrymandering the Mid-Atlantic. And as far as our minds, I'm purposely going to leave out Jersey because I don't think anybody wants to retire to Jersey. So we're going to carve out in terms of the Mid-Atlantic. And then we're going to do the North and West. I don't know that we're going to do the Northeast. We live here, so we'll see what happens with that.
Wants to retire here.
Well, I guess, who knows? That's the whole thing as far as that. So, any questions for us in the chat box?
Chat box, right?
Okay, so here's the deal. Like, if you ever do have any questions, you can go to our website. It's www.ariesfoundation.org. There's a contact us. You can drop that in. You can see the stuff that we do. You can shoot us an email. It's info@ariesfoundation.org. We'll answer you as soon as we can. You generally within a 24-hour window. We will get back to you and respond with the information or whatever we can try to help you out with. But if there are no questions, Craig,
nope.
Then I am going to say thanks and have a great evening.
You too.